Bonjour, welcome to Wahsa Distance Education Center's radio Zoom classes. This is MEL3E, grade 11 workplace math, and I'm the teacher, Bronwyn Slate. If you want to participate live today, you can call the Wahsa studio at 1-800-465-7144 or 737-4017. You can listen on the radio at 91.9 FM or on the television at Bell Express View channel 972. You're always welcome to be live for the Zoom link. You don't have to talk to me. You can just watch. That's totally fine. The link is available both from me, your teacher, and also your DEC. Our classes are scheduled Monday through Thursday from 9 until 10 in the morning, and we are in our 9th and final week of our course. At this point, you should definitely be submitting work for marking. So reminder that the support questions, the ones with a little pencil icon, are not for marking. These are practice problems. You can decide which ones and how many to do depending on your needs. If you're understanding a concept, it's totally okay to skip questions. If you need more practice, let me know and I'm happy to send you more practice. The key questions, however, the ones with a little key icon, are the ones that are marked questions. So these ones you need to submit all of them. I'm marking them all, so submit them all. You need to show your work so that I can understand what it is that you understand. And if you're making any mistakes, it gives me more information so I can help you. So how do you submit your work for marking? Well, there's 3 methods. The first is to scan and send your work electronically. If you have a device, you can scan using that device. The Apple devices have a Notes app and Android devices have a Google Drive app. These are free apps that have scan functions that are fairly straightforward to use. If you do need some support figuring it out, on my YouTube channel, there are tech tutorials that walk you through step-by-step how to use these apps so that you can make your files a little bit smaller and easier to send. Then you can send them to me through email to studentwork@nnec.on.ca and cc to bronwyn.slate@nnec.on.ca, or you can also send them to me through Facebook Messenger, where my name is B. Slate Wahsa. The second method is to drop your work off in Sioux Lookout. We have an outdoor mailbox at 74 Front Street. We're the bright red building next to the post office and have a small white mailbox next to our side entrance. You can just put your work in there at any time. The third method is to hand your work into your DEC. Your DEC can either send your work through the Express or fax it to 807-737-1732 or toll-free fax to 1-800-463-7852. If you'd like to connect with me through social media, both my Facebook and my YouTube channel are under the name B. Slate Wahsa. All of our radio Zoom classes are recorded and uploaded to YouTube shortly after broadcasting. So they're really easy to find there. They're under a playlist called MEL3E, which is our course code. There's also short videos there that explain common errors and confusing concepts. So if you're struggling with something, that might be a good place to go and start before doing a general internet search. Math is a really visual subject, so I strongly encourage you to access the videos. This is going to give you the most information and really set you up for the most success. So if you can't watch me live on Zoom or you can't access the YouTube videos, just let me know and I'm happy to send you a copy of the recordings so that you have the full experience. If you have any questions or concerns, please reach out and connect with me. You can email me at bronwyn.slate@nnec.on.ca, connect with me through Facebook at B. Slate Wahsa, call me at the office at 807-737-1488, extension 2209, or toll free 1-800-667-3703. My office hours are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., though I teach from 9 until 11, so that is not a good time to try to get a hold of me. Today, we are reviewing our 3rd unit. So in our previous sessions, we've reviewed lessons 1 through 5 in Unit 1 and lessons 6 through 10 in Unit 2. And today we will be reviewing Unit 11 through 15 in Unit 3. But first, let's activate our brains with some mental math. I don't believe in mad math minutes. They cause stress and anxiety and really just don't build up any skills. So instead, I think it's important to develop strategies that you can use in various situations that are based on your comfort and confidence. Today's question is 304 take away 189. And we're going to be using the strategy of place value and negative numbers, which is a little bit different than what many folks are taught about subtraction. So we're going to break up our number. So in place value, so we have 300 plus 0. We don't have any tens, plus 4. And we're going to subtract 100 and subtract 80 and subtract 9. So many folks, when doing subtraction, stack their numbers like they're told, and then always do the bigger number, whatever the bigger number is, take away the little number. But you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to do the bigger number, which is the whole number, take away the smaller number generally. So if you do it this way, but many people who make the mistake in subtraction, you would get the answer 285. This is wrong. But let's see how it compares to what the right answer is. So what we're going to do is we're going to do similarly, but we're just going to keep negatives into account. So 300 take away 100 is 200. Okay. 0 take away 80. Well, we can't actually do that. It's just that we get negative 80. We still need to take away 80. We don't get positive 80. We get negative 80. If we start at 0 and we go down 80, we're going to be at negative 80. And 4 take away 9. Again, we're going to get negative 5. So then what we do here is now we're going to say, okay, well, 200 take away 80 is 120. Take away 5 is 115. So as you can see, this is really different than if we just think of the numbers individually, but we can still do the subtraction. We just have to take into account the negative numbers. So this is a little bit different than anything I was ever taught in elementary school. And if it's confusing to you, no worries, but it's just an interesting way to think about subtraction and to try something a little bit with a different strategy. Okay, so before we dive into a review, I just want to remind you what your final assessment looks like. So the final assessment is not an exam, but it's a culminating assignment. So it is a project that you have for a period of time. It still covers all of the 20 lessons. So you still need to do all the 20 lessons first. It is open book. So this means you have access to your assignments that I've marked. You have your feedback on them. You have access to the YouTube videos. You can look at your IO booklet and the instructions there. You can use the Desmos calculators. You can use Google Maps. You need to use Google Maps. If you don't have access to a computer, you need to let me know so that we can figure that out. But you have access to all the resources that we've used so far this year or in our course. It is not timed, so it's not like you only have 2 hours for one day, but it does have a deadline. So we'll negotiate that when you are ready to do it. We'll discuss what's a reasonable deadline based on your life and your responsibilities. So that's probably like 2 or 3 weeks. The structure is going to be unfamiliar. It's a project. Everything's connected. And so that's a little bit different than our individual lessons, which are all separated and tell you just have straightforward answer these individual questions. This is a little bit more interconnected. So that's unfamiliar, but you can still ask me questions. You can still make sure you understand. You can clarify. That's all fine. So you can still do it. You totally have the tools that you need. Okay, so we are starting our review of Unit 3. Let's look at Lesson 11, which was credit cards. So when you're looking for a credit card, you want generally a lower or manageable interest rate. I strongly suggest one that has no annual fee, no fee for just having a credit card that you have to pay whether or not you use it. If it has a free credit score tracker from FICO, that can be really useful so you know what your credit score is. I also encourage you to have no or low security deposit so that you don't have to have a bunch of money up front, just again, to get a credit card. If you want a rewards card, that can be great if you're going to use it. Depending on where you're going to use it, that could be really useful. So considering where you're going to use it, are you always just buying gas? Are you always using it at Walmart or Costco or online? Using those sorts of things, considering that can really help you build up points, which means that you can get free money. It's an incentive program. So then it's also really important to understand the cost of borrowing. So if you do not immediately pay back your money that you charged on the credit card, you are beginning to be charged interest. So generally you have a 21-day grace period, but if you don't pay or if you have any owing money, then you're not going to have that grace period. You're going to end up paying interest. This information is in the legally mandated information box on your credit card applications that spell out all of your associated potential costs. So it's really important not to skip reading the fine print. You need to know what it is that you're committing to. If you only make minimum payments, it's going to take a lot longer to chip away at your overall balance. While you're very slowly chipping away at your balance, there's interest is constantly added on what you owe. It is compounded daily. So it's something to be really paying attention to. If your interest rate is really high, it means that your payments might not even cover your interest charge for the month. So you might not be chipping away at your balance at all. So making minimum payments is really not a great idea. It is best to use your credit card in such a way that you have the money so you can just pay everything off and you don't end up having to pay any interest. All right, so looking at some more questions from lesson 11. So this is on page 4. Let's see. I don't have the above application, so that's not a good question to have here. All right, let's go to number 3. So use the credit card information below to answer the following questions. So we have a CIBC Ventura Gold Visa card that has a minimum credit limit of $5,000, an annual fee of $120 for each additional card. For like another member of your family, it's $50 for annual fee for up to 3 cards. And it has a regular annual interest rate of 19.5%. So answering the questions, what is the annual fee on the credit card? That is $120. What does it mean by maximum credit limit? So you can only borrow up to $5,000 at one time. What is the credit card's annual interest rate? 19.5%, which around there is pretty standard. What do you think the purpose of additional cards would be for family members? Some people give them to their kids. That's not or their partners. It's the other cards, they're still based on your credit. You are still responsible for them, but then they have access to that same credit limit. So it's still up to that $5,000. They don't have access to more. It's not an additional $5,000. Number 4, Jordan purchases a $249 DVD player on March 1st with his credit card. He also makes a minimum payment of $25 on March 30th. If the balance at the beginning of March was $135, what is his due balance on March 31st? So the balance at the beginning of the month was $135. So beginning. And then purchase was $249 for the DVD player. And then payment was negative $25 because that was subtracted. And so new balance well, 135 take away 25 is 110. And 249 is almost 250. So that would be 360. So it's going to be 359 because we rounded up. So the new balance is $359 that Jordan now owes at the end of March, plus any interest, which we didn't calculate because we don't have any interest information. All right, lesson 12 was loans. So moving away from credit cards and looking at personal loans. So the cost of a loan really varies depending on a bunch of different factors. So it's the amount of the loan. So borrowing more money most likely will cost you more money. The length of the loan, the longer it takes for you to pay the loan back, the more interest it's going to cost you. The amount of the regular payments, so the lower the payment, if you have a smaller payment that you're paying back, it's going to take longer to pay it back, which means you're paying more interest. The rate of interest, the higher the interest rate, the more interest you pay. And the number of regular payments paid in a year, the less frequent your payments will cost you more because you're not paying them as often. So these are all things to consider when you are applying for a loan. If there's any of these things that you can adjust so that you're not paying as much interest, that's a great idea. Next, we wanted to understand amortization. So this is typically refers to the process of writing down the value of the loan, keeping track of what has been paid on the principal and what is being paid in interest. So amortization schedules are used by lenders to present a loan repayment schedule based on a specific end date. Amortization is used in the process of paying off debt through regular principal and interest payments over time. An amortization schedule provides clarity into what portion of a loan payment consists of interest versus principal. So this is a little bit of a weird thing. Go back to lesson 12 and check it out if you're not quite sure what amortization schedules mean. This is an example of one. So here we see the equal payments that we will pay every month. They list that amount. So the payment $1,135.58 is what you as the borrower are paying every month. Then you can see how much of that goes to the principal, and then that's subtracted from how much you owe. So for this first payment, only $218.91 of that $1,135.58 is going towards your loan, is paying back your loan. The rest is your interest. $916.67 is all just paying interest. It's just the fact that you are borrowing money from this place, you're paying them that interest back for the privilege of borrowing it. So then the last column is the balance remaining after each of your payments. So now this is the original principal amount was $200,000. So now we take away that $218.91, and we're left with a balance now of $199,781.09, even though you paid $1,135.58 because a whole bunch of that is interest. So this just really gives you a lot of information about where your money is going. You can also see that then after every payment, your principal amount is a little bit more and your interest amount is a little bit less. So that's how you get to the end when you are paying more principal and less interest. But this is at the beginning of this loan, so you're paying a lot of interest and not very much principal. All right, so let's look at the separate questions for lesson 12. This is also on page 12. For each of the situations below, what is the total cost of the loan of the amount of interest paid on each loan? So we have a loan for A, we have a loan of $3,000 for 1 year with monthly payments of $258.20. So if we made monthly payments for 1 year, that means we made 12 payments of $258.20. So that means we paid a total of $3,098.40. So that's how much you paid with all of your payments, with including the interest. But so that's the total cost. But the interest paid, well, it's your total amount, take away your principal, right? So we have $3,098.40, take away $3,000 equals $98.40 is how much you paid in interest. All right, let's look down at part C. So here we have $8,500 was your loan for 4 years with monthly payments of $220.51. We had monthly payments, so that's still 12, but we did it for 4 years. So we need to multiply that 12 by 4 because it happened for 4 years. And then we multiply that by the payments of $220.51. So again, this is going to give us the total cost, how much we paid. So the first one we didn't have to multiply by an extra number like 4 because it was only for 1 year. If it's more than 1 year, we need to multiply by more. So that is $10,580.48. So that the interest is that total amount that we paid, take away how much we borrowed, which was $8,500. So we paid an interest of $2,084.48 is how much we paid in interest for that loan. That's how we calculate both the total cost and the interest. Number 2, refer to the amortization table given below. So that's this big chart of all these numbers. How many years is it going to take to pay off this loan? So we can look here. We have the payment numbers. So we have 24 payments, but we have to see, is it 1 payment per year? Because then that would be 24 years, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like our payment dates looks like the first of the month for October, November, December, January, February, March, April. So it looks like we're making monthly payments. So if it's monthly payments and there's 24 payments, that means that we're making, it's 2 years. Because 24 payments is 2 times 12. How often do the payments occur? We figured out that they were monthly. How much will a loan have cost in total? So how we figure that out is we see, okay, well, we look at our payments here and this last payment is small because we only we paid everything that we owed. But every other payment is $204.55. So that means we have 23 payments of $204.55 plus 1 payment of $203.11. Now, if you were to just do 24 payments of $204.55, I would accept that because that is what you're planning to pay back. It's just that based on the timeline, your last payment doesn't need to be that big. So that's a total of $4,907.76. What you notice about the amount of interest as more payments occur. So you can see the interest starts high and goes low. So you start paying more interest. And this is how lenders get their money back and get like how they make a profit. This is why they lend you money, is because they make a lot of money at the beginning. And part E, what do you notice about the principal as more payments occur? So it's opposite. You start, it's not as significant as a difference for this particular loan, but you start lower and you go higher. The amount you're paying towards your principal is lower to begin with. And that's how you can understand an amortization schedule. Next lesson is lesson 13, which was driver's license and insurance. So in Ontario, we're looking specifically at, that's where we're based. So we have a 2-step licensing process that takes at least 20 months to complete, but you have a total of 5 years to complete it if you need it. So the first step is class G1, which is a minimum of 12 months before attempting your G1 road test, but it can be reduced to 8 months if you complete an approved driver's education course. You have a bunch of restrictions when you have your G1 and limitations. So these you need to know. Again, we went into more detail in the actual lesson. Then you get, once you pass your G1 road test, you get your class G2, which means you now have to have your G2 license for a year for a minimum of 12 months. This you can't reduce before you can attempt your G2 road test. Then you get your final G, which is your full license. There are less restrictions on your G2 than your G1, but there still are some opposed to your full G license. Then we looked at insurance. So by law in Ontario, you have to have insurance on your car. Failure to have insurance can result in a large fine and going to court. So the point of having insurance is to protect yourself if an accident happens. Things that impact how much your insurance costs are things like driving experience, driving history, age, gender, location, the vehicle you're driving, the vehicle, how much you're using the vehicle, and if you have winter tires or not. Also in this lesson, we look at demerit points. So demerit points are added, not lost. You don't start with any demerit points. You start with 0, then you add them on if you are found guilty of a traffic ticket offense. So the amount of points you gain vary depending on your charge. If you obtain too many demerit points, then there's a possibility you could lose your license as a whole. Again, you start with 0 points and you can go up to 15. A demerit point will stay on your record for a maximum of 2 years from the offense date. Once the 2 years has passed, they will automatically be removed from your record. You don't have to do anything. There is a big long list of all the different things you can get demerit points. This is both in our lesson and also in your IELTS booklet. But here are some of the more expensive ones. The higher level of demerit points, so like failing to remain at the scene of a crime, of a collision, is 7 demerit points. Failing to stop when signaled or asked by a police officer is 7 demerit points. Careless driving, stunt driving, failing to stop for a school bus are all 6 demerit points, as is exceeding the speed limit by 50 kilometers an hour or more. Then exceeding the speed limit by 30 to 49 kilometers an hour is 4 demerit points, or following too closely is 4 demerit points. Again, there's a whole bunch more. There's also the victim fine surcharge, which for every speeding fine, you get another fee added on top of it, which is the victim fine surcharge. This funds the Victim Justice Fund, which was developed to assist victims of crimes. Other crimes as well have victim fine surcharges. We're just looking at speeding because we're looking specifically at driving things. So the range, so depending on how much your fine is, which depending on what it is that you do, then there's a different surcharge added to your fine on top that you have to pay as well. All right, so let's look at some support questions. I've collected a bunch of information so that we have that information. You're going to need to look this up. This information, these charts are not at the bottom of your questions. So you do need to go back into your booklet to find these charts to use them. I've just put them here to help make your life a little bit easier. So number 1 on page 23, calculate the cost of each of the speeding fines and the number of demerits. So exceeding the speed limit by 22 kilometers an hour. So we look and we see speeding between 16 and 29 kilometers an hour is 3 demerit points. So that's all you need to do is you just need to look at the demerit point chart. And then the fine, well, 22 is in this place where it's between 20 and 34. And so it's $3.75 per kilometer per hour. So if we're going over 22 kilometers an hour, that means we have to do 22 times 3.75, which is equal to $82.50. But then we also have to add the victim's fine surcharge. So then we say, okay, well, our fine is $80.50. So that's here between $76 and $100. So it means we add an extra $20. So plus $20 for the victim's fine surcharge. So that fine is going to be $102.50 plus 3 demerit points. Okay, let's do part C. So erasing all of those bits. So here we're exceeding the speed limit by 70 kilometers per hour. So 70 kilometers per hour would fall into the 50 kilometers an hour or more. So you get 6 demerit points. And potentially, because depending on if they're going to decide if it's stunt driving and racing, you might have a license suspension, your vehicle impounded, a minimum fine of $2,000, possibly a license suspension for 2 years, possibly jail time. So depending on how that's all really, really fast, exceeding the speed limit. So they might deem it as something more. Then it is a minimum fine of $7,000. And the seizure of your vehicle, potentially. So then for your victims, fine surcharge, it's over $1,000. So it's going to be 25% of the actual fine. So we don't know what the actual fine is because it's going to be dependent upon the situation. But so it's going to be 25% of the fine. So really not a good idea. All right, number 2, calculate the cost of each of the speeding fines and the number of demerit points again, but this time we are in a community safety zone. So that means that we need to use this chart here. So again, you have to look it up in your booklet because community safety zones, the fines are higher. So let's just do 1. Let's do part B, exceed the speed limit by 25 kilometers in a community safety zone. So it's still 3 demerit points because it's still between 16 to 29 kilometers. So 3 demerit points. But here, 25 is in this 20 to 34, and now it is $7.50 per kilometer. So $7.50 times 25 is equal to $187.50. And again, then you look over here, that's between 151 and 200. So we're adding $35. So $222.50 is what your total fine is going to be, plus 3 demerit points. So if you're speeding in a community safety zone, you have a higher fine because it is more dangerous. Number 5, which situation would result in a higher insurance premium, getting a full Class G license last year or getting it 25 years ago? So it's having which one is going to cost you a higher insurance? So having your license for a shorter period of time is going to cost you higher fees. So getting it last year means you are a newer driver, and therefore you're going to have a higher insurance rate opposed to having your license for longer. That was lesson 13. So lesson 14 is new and used vehicles. New cars have numerous costs in addition to the sticker or the base price. Some of the extra costs are delivery, freight, pre-delivery expense, pre-delivery inspection, administration fees, dealer preparation. These are all going to be dependent upon the dealership that you are working with. There's also fuel consumption tax, an air conditioning $100 federal tax, a fuel charge, and licensing fees. Again, they have to disclose all of this, but sometimes it can be confusing because it's overwhelming. Then we looked at depreciation and how a new car depreciation refers to how fast the car you bought loses its value from the first year that it was bought. And we looked at this chart that said by about 5 years of depreciation, on average, most cars have lost about 67%, about 2/3 of their value. So it is different depending on the vehicle, depending on the make, the model, the year, but generally you lose a lot really quickly. If you're buying a used car, it is generally cheaper because that depreciation has already happened. So it could be a better choice for you, but there still can be extra costs. You still have to get a safety standard certificate and a drive clean emissions test. There could be extended warranties on either new or used cars. You have to pay an HST on the sales of a used car from a used car lot, but you only have to pay a PST of 8% if it's a private sales, like just if you're dealing with an individual person. You pay that PST 8%, not to the person, but you have to go to Service Ontario and pay it there. You have to pay, you have to pay a licensing fee and any fuel. And that stuff isn't taxed just because in general it's not taxed. All right, support question on page 31. This is number 2. The Ford Freestyle base price is given below at $33,295. It has a $500 delivery charge, a $100 federal air conditioner tax, a $75 fuel consumption tax, HST of 13%. How this works in your booklet is that everything that is above the HST, you have to pay HST on. Then there's a $20 licensing fee and a $40 fuel fee. You don't have to pay HST on those because it's below the HST. This is just the indicator of how it's written in your booklet. So what is the total purchase price for the Ford Freestyle? So we need to add the price, $33,295 plus $500 plus $100 plus $75, and all of that times 1.13 to get the full amount with the tax, plus the $20 for licensing fee, plus the $40 for the fuel fee. So that is going to equal again, you could always do these in the different steps than what I do them. You don't have to do it exactly the same way as I do it. I sometimes do things a little bit faster just because we have less time. So sometimes I have to do a couple steps all at once. So that's going to be $38,446.10. 38,446.10. So that is the total purchase price. How much more is the total purchase price than the base price? Well, the total purchase price is $38,446.10. And the base price is $33,295. So the difference is $5,151.10. So it can be a bit of a surprise that you're paying $5,000 more based on all of these fees and taxes. Number 4, determine the depreciation value of each car. Part A, the base price is $18,250 and the depreciation rate is 20% in 1 year. So that means that the new value, so we can do this in 2 ways. We can do 18,250 times 20%, which is 0.20. And that is going to be not what I meant. 3,650. So that's how much we're lose. So the new value is 18,250 take away 3,650. Which is 14,600 is the new value. The other thing that we can do is we could just do, so for part B, the base price is $33,999 and depreciates 35% over 2 years. So we could just do $33,999 and we could times that by 1, take away 0.35, take away 35%, because then that's going to tell us what the new value is, because we're taking away, we're just figuring out what is left. So what is left if we lose 35%, that means that we have 65% left. So we could just times it by 0.65, or we could times it by 1, take away 0.35, which is going to give us 0.65. And that means that we have $22,099.35. So that is our new value, because we figured out what the new value was instead of just what we were losing and then subtracting it off. Both ways are totally fine. All right, so now looking at lesson 15, which is leasing vehicles. Leasing a vehicle is when you can drive a brand new car for a fixed period of time at an agreed monthly rate. It's like a long-term rental. And once the fixed lease period is over, which is typically between 2 and 4 years, then you, the customer, must either return the car to the leasing company or purchase it for market value. So pay for it however much it is worth now. There are extra fees, as always. So there is a security deposit, which is refundable at the end of the lease. You have to pay this up front and then you get it back if everything is in good working order. You have to pay generally a down payment. If you have excess kilometer usage fees, so if you go over the kilometers that you agreed upon, then you have to pay a fee for that. And then there's still HST on the monthly payments. Again, at the end of your lease, you have three options. You can return the vehicle and lease a new one. You can purchase the vehicle at a predetermined price and keep it, or you can return the vehicle and just walk away and not and figure out a new vehicle somewhere else. So the kilometer surcharge usage, or sorry, kilometer usage surcharge is a little bit tricky to think about. So when you're leasing it, again, there has a maximum kilometers that you're allowed to go. If you go over that a maximum usage amount, you have to pay an extra amount. For every kilometer extra, you pay a certain amount. So we'll look at that as an example in a minute. So number one on page 41 is calculate the cost of leasing each of the vehicles described below, assuming the security deposit is returned. So we have a down payment of $3,000 plus a security deposit of $350 plus 4 years of monthly payments. So we're going to do the monthly payments over here because there's some parts to it. So we have 4 years of monthly payments of $329.99 plus HST on each of these monthly payments. So that means we need to do 4 times 12 because they're monthly payments. So there's 48 of them in total times $329.99. And then we could times that by 1.13 to get the total amount plus the insurance, or sorry, plus the tax. Again, you could do this in more steps and that's totally fine. I'm doing it all in one step just for the sake of time. So that is $17,898.66. So that is how much we paid in monthly payments over the 4 years. So then we're going to add those with the down payment and the refundable security deposit. But if the refundable security deposit is, if you could get it back, then you can then subtract it off because you get it back. So you're left with $20,898.66 because you subtracted that $350 refundable security deposit. So number 2, calculate the kilometer surcharge on each below. So you are allowed to have 65,000 kilometers. You actually use 71,342 kilometers. There's a 15 cents per kilometer surcharge. So what you need to do is you need to figure out how many extra you drove. So you do 71,421 kilometers, take away 65,000 kilometers, and then we multiply that by 15 cents. Again, you can do this in 2 steps if you want to figure out how many kilometers you did over. Oops, I forgot a 0. So it's going to be $951.30. That's how you find the surcharge. Here in part C or E, where its allowable usage is 100,000 kilometers and the actual usage is 89,205 kilometers. Did you go over the surcharge? Did you go over the allowable? No. So there's no surcharge because you didn't use any extra kilometers. So you need to be paying attention. You don't just assume just because there's a number that you have to subtract it and multiply, you're going to get a negative number. That's not going to make any sense. You don't have to go over, or you did go over. All right, so that is all the time that we have for today. If you have any questions, as always, please reach out and connect with me. Call me at 807-737-1488, extension 2209, or toll free 1-800-667-3703. Send me an email at bronwyn.slate@nnec.on.ca. Connect with me through Facebook at Slate Wahsa. Remember, this lesson and all of our lessons are up on YouTube. My channel is Slate Wahsa. Our playlist is MEL3E, so you can find everything that we've done this year, as well as previous years. If you need to go back over a specific area, use that. It is a great tool. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a lovely day. Good luck with your review, which